Hey everyone, welcome to Tacos Tuesday with Vince. That is me. I'm Vince Montero. I'm the product manager for ads, which is our PPC management tool here at Helium 10. Our Tacos Tuesday is all about sharing some information, maybe a feature, maybe some holiday information like we're going to go over for the next couple of weeks, some tips and tricks for that. And then we're opening that up for any questions you guys might have for PPC about anything I share, about anything that you might be seeing or going through with your PPC campaigns. We're currently on Facebook and YouTube. So feel free to, if you have questions that maybe I didn't get to last week, if you were there, if you joined us previously, feel free to put some questions in there and we will get to them as soon as I'm done just with the information at the top of the hour. Once again, as a reminder for everyone who might not know why we call it Tacos Tuesday, it's not just because we like tacos, because I really do like tacos. It is also because we are using our tacos metric a lot when we talk about the success of PPC campaigns. Most users are used to your ACoS and monitoring that to gauge the success of your campaigns. But we also here at Helium 10 have the ability to look at your organic sales if you're connected to our profits tool with your MWS token. So we also look at that as well and compare not just your PPC sales or PPC spend against your PPC sales, which is your ACoS. We also look at your PPC spend divided by your total sales, which is your organic plus your PPC. And that tacos metric gives you a general or a broader idea, I should say, about how your PPC campaigns are branding your product on Amazon. And that is the holy grail of Amazon, really, is for users to just know your product either ahead of time and they go search for it, or they recognize it as soon as they see it. That's the point of advertising. So we know that that eventually leads to organic sales as users come back and remember your brand or type it in directly and find you. So we want to encourage users to also look at your total sales metrics. If you don't have access to ads, our PPC management tool, you can still do the same thing, maybe on a monthly basis, looking in your business reports, looking at your total sales per product, and then dividing that by your PPC spend, which you will get over in Seller Central or the advertising console, which it's now called. So again, today, we're just going to start off our holiday tips for the next few weeks. I recently did, about 3 weeks ago, I did a webinar with Amazon about this particular topic. We talked about lots of different things regarding advertising, mostly sponsored brand and sponsored display. But we also went over some general tips that should be considered when heading into the holiday season. As we all know, or as you guys should expect, this holiday season is probably going to be huge, bigger than last and bigger than ever, because many more people are shopping, obviously, online. There's a lot of new people new to e-commerce, which means there are new shoppers to Amazon as well. So anything that you were doing last year, if you were selling last year, you should expect those numbers to increase. And that means CPCs are also going to increase and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And the first tip that we're going to go through is forecasting your inventory. Now, I wanted to start with this because a lot of you may not know that in our profits tool, we just launched an inventory management tool, or inventory management, actually a suite of tools. So we now have in our profits tool the ability for you guys to track, monitor, and forecast your inventory. And like I just mentioned, why is that important? Well, because you definitely want to do your research ahead of time, like now, as the holiday season is fast approaching. So running out of stock for just a few days during the holiday rush could potentially lead to thousands of dollars in lost sales, depending on what you're selling. Plus, if someone searches for your product and they can't find it, then they're going to likely pick a competitor. So obviously, the benefit or the reason that is tied to PPC is if you're spending all this time and energy focused on your PPC strategy, and you're out of stock for a few days, a week, 2 weeks, or longer, you're going to basically not be in the running for those keywords anymore, and your competitors are. So this definitely does directly tie into your effectiveness of your PPC campaigns, because it could potentially lessen your PPC effectiveness, because you have to then gain ground again once you do have your stock across, where it needs to be to have 2-day fulfillment or 3-day, however you do it. But you should also be careful not to over order. This could cause you to be overstocked, and then you'd have to pay additional storage fees to Amazon or to your 3PL warehouse if you're using one. So that's why it is important to do some of your research ahead of time, and especially ahead of the holidays. Now, our inventory management tool tracks items like lead time, reorder frequency. It can, using those data points, it can then forecast demand and then make sure you always have the right amount of product in stock. There's a screenshot here you can see, and maybe I'll go into the profits tool and show you guys that where this is located, but it's blended into profits. So you have everything related to your revenue, like just all in one place. One of our goals here at Helium 10 is to continue to improve and expand upon our tool sets, much like ads that I've been working on for the past year, but profits is another area that we're really focusing on. And you're going to be seeing more integrations between profits and ads in the near future. So I'm going to go over update your listings in the next module. I just want to make sure that I show you guys in profits where this forecasting is. Let's see here. How do I exit this one? Escape. Okay. Since we're talking about it. All right. So if you do have access to profits, you will see in the left-hand side menu now, there are new tools regarding restocking. So you have restock suggestions, managing your suppliers, managing your warehouses, your non-FBA type inventory, and so on. Inbound shipments, purchase orders. So all of these things are tied into profits, but they're also obviously really relevant to reordering and restocking so that you make sure, again, for all the reasons I just gave you guys ahead of time, that you're not out of stock or you're overstock. So you can see in this particular account, these are some of the restock suggestions that are listed here. There's some reorder dates that are ahead of time, and this one's actually, reorder date was 2 days ago, so this one's actually behind and at 0 days of supply. So it gives you a heads up on where you are. Now you do have to input some information in order to get this to be correct, but we want you guys to make sure that you're taking advantage of this new section of our profits tool. So good morning, Miguel and Shervin, for all of you from Hamburg. Wow, good to have you. So we're going to get into some questions now. Again, feel free to you guys to ask some questions about this feature that I just shared with you, or if you've got any other features that you want to talk about, we can do that. This is the ads dashboard, so we can go into some detail with ads if you'd like, but let's start with Roger. I sell 2 ASINs that are like lapel pens, okay? If I create an automatic and a manual campaigns for each one of these designs, will they compete with each other? Well, if you're targeting the keywords, if the keywords are the same, Roger, then yeah, you would. The auto campaigns, you don't really know what Amazon's going to send to each one of those SKUs for those pins. So there might be some competition there, that there might not. If they're really similar, and especially, and maybe if they're even the same price point, if you want to be a bit more budget conscious, maybe you should have those pins on the same profile page. That way, you really only have to run one campaign to both of the ASINs, and then it's just the same keywords. So if you have the ability to do that, and if you're really budget conscious, I would say combine those 2 pins onto one profile page. Then you don't have to worry about the duplicates. If you want to split those up into separate profile pages just for additional coverage, there are some benefits, to that, but you could still have 2 separate advertising campaigns, one to each SKU. So you could either combine them or you can split them up. If you do split each SKU into their own campaign, then yeah, you do have to be careful with your phrase match or your exact match keywords. If they're exactly the same, then yeah, you are technically then competing against yourself. Your broad search keywords that you might use for these ASINs, they might be the same when you put them in, but again, broad keywords will get a broader set of search terms back for you. So those keywords actually might not be, the search terms might not be similar, but that's just something that you would have to stay on top of. In our ads tool, we do have a feature so that you can actually see your duplicates. So I don't know if you are an ads user, if you wanted to launch these campaigns and check this to make sure that you aren't hurting yourself with exact or phrase match duplicate keywords, then you do have that ability to do that here in our keyword level. And it's just our show duplicates toggle. I'm just going to put the last 30 days so it loads a little bit quicker for you guys. And then you can see right here, they're kind of hidden right now, BC search terms and show duplicates. So if you really want to make sure that you're not overbidding, or if the keywords that you do have that are the same are not hurting you, this is one way you could check that. And you just want to, again, look mostly for exact match duplicates or phrase match duplicates, because those are going to be ones that potentially you are competing against yourself on those. So you just want to make sure those are the same if you can. All right, hopefully that answers your question. Good morning, Terry. How are you doing? Miguel asks, how can ads help me with my sponsored brand campaigns since it's not in an H10 flow auto research proven? It is not in an H10 flow. However, it still has the same rules. We just had somebody actually come through with a customer service request ticket saying, hey, my sponsored brand campaign is suggesting keywords into the same campaign. Well, yeah, that's good. That's not bad, right? So if you do create your campaigns in ads, right now you do have the option to do sponsored products. And what Miguel is asking for you guys that may not know, for sponsored products, if you do create them in ads, we do create 3 campaigns at once. And these are the 3 minimum campaigns that we do suggest for your campaigns, along with a branded keyword campaign, which I say regularly, and a product targeting campaign, which I can speak more of if you guys want to talk about that. But for a really quick and easy launch of a new campaign, new product, you can really easily do that in ads. We launch an auto or research and a proven campaign for you. You enter all the details, what you want to call it, your SKUs, your keywords, obviously all your metrics around your budget, what your ACoS target is, and so on. And once they are created in this flow, we actually then will look at the search terms in the auto campaign, because obviously there's no keywords in the auto campaign, there's only search terms. So we look for search terms, and not only do we find ones that are performing poorly and make them negative, but we also find keywords that are doing, or search terms that are doing well, that we can then promote as a keyword or make a keyword. So that's what Miguel is asking, is the flow. We're not moving keywords for sponsored brands. We do move them for product targeting. We do move that from the auto to the research to the proven. So in sponsored brands, you can only create one, because sponsored brands are really their own entity. They're unique. They're not, the campaign type is very different than sponsored products. But sponsored brands are not an auto campaign. You still have to choose keywords for your sponsored brand campaign. So what we suggest is choose broad or phrase, but mostly broad keywords for your sponsored brand campaign. And then ads will do the job of looking at those search terms from those broad keywords in your sponsored brand campaign. It'll find the ones that are not performing well, suggest them negative. It'll find the ones that are performing well, and it'll suggest you to run that in that campaign. If the keyword's already in that campaign, if the search term matches an existing keyword, we won't recommend that. But if we find a search term that doesn't exactly match a keyword you're running in that sponsored brand, we will suggest that to be run as a keyword in that sponsored brand campaign. So it's still effective. There's just no flow in the sense that we're not moving keywords to a different campaign, but there is flow in the sense that we're looking at the search terms for the sponsored brand and suggesting them you add them to that same sponsored brand campaign if they are performing well. So I hope that answers that question. Another question, as far as restock suggestions, Helium 10 recommends I reorder 427 units, but Amazon says my max inbound shipment quantity is 39. What is your advice to work around this? You know what? That is not really something that I would be most proficient on. I would, the one thing that I would suggest that you do is figure out why there's such a discrepancy. Why is Amazon only allowing you to add 39? That seems very, very low. I would check with your account manager over at Amazon to see if there is something that you could do to maybe increase that. Because obviously, if our restock tool is looking at your data and saying that you need to order 427 units, obviously that's a lot higher than the allowed inbound shipment quantity of 39. Now, we do have to keep in mind that Amazon's consistently changing the rule sets around inventory in their FBA warehouses, approving some things, not approving other things. So you do have to keep track of what Amazon is doing regarding inventory and stock for your particular product or category, because obviously that might have an influence as well. All right, so let's see, who else do we have? Federico asks, hey, from England. I used to live in London. I miss it a lot. So hope you're enjoying it over there, Federico. Just a beginner, so many thanks for anything you share. You're very welcome. So these are recorded weekly. I think I've done about 7 or 8 of them. So you might benefit, Federico, from going back in the YouTube channels and seeing other features that I've shared with everyone here in ads, and then lots of questions from new beginners in our previous sessions. So make sure you check those out, and you'll probably glean some more information from that. But glad to have you here today, Federico. Seema asks, can you walk us through the Keyword Manager tool and how to use it throughout multiple features, i.e. keyword tracker? The Keyword Manager tool is outside of ads. So, and to be honest, Seema, I'm not quite sure if it's been released, in what form. Let's see. Hold on one second. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, if it's been released yet, I don't see it. I might not see it because of the type of account that I'm in, Seema. So if it's been released, what it's going to be right now is just a very basic kind of way to store keywords that you found in different folders. So eventually what we'll have is the ability, if you're in Cerebro or Magnet, for example, and you're doing research, you're going to be able to save those keywords in a specific folder, and then ads will recognize that folder, and you'll be able to then use those keywords in PPC campaigns. So it'll be the same thing, with Keyword Tracker. You'll be doing your keyword research in our different tools. You'll be able to save them in a portfolio or a folder or a list, depending on what it ends up being called in the Keyword Manager tool. And then you can then port those over into other tools like Keyword Tracker. So let's see, now that I'm saying it, I'm thinking maybe it might be linked, to one of these. Yeah, see, I don't see it there. Yeah, so for Keyword Tracker, for example, what would be beneficial, obviously, is when you're doing your research and you do find keywords in particular that you want to track, then you would be able to just port those over into your Keyword Tracker, and then you would manage that. So not really a flow right now that I can show you, but just other than telling you like how it can be used or how it should be used. One cool thing about Keyword Tracker that I will mention as a kind of a heads up to you guys. So Keyword Tracker is basically used to track different keywords that you want that are effective for your particular product. Obviously, in my use case, I use it for effectiveness and related to PPC. So we're always looking at the sponsored rank to see the effectiveness of the PPC. Of course, organic rank is obviously very important as well. But eventually, one cool thing I will share is that we are going to be able to take these keywords that we're tracking or that you have entered that you're tracking, and then use the data here, the search volume and the rankings, to then influence our suggestions. So instead of our suggestions just focused on hitting a particular ACoS target, for example, we'll also have other metrics in here that we're going to be able to integrate into our ads tool. So exciting stuff to come. That's not for probably many months away though. So the first thing that we have to do, if you guys are not aware, is we recently purchased Prestazone, which is another PPC platform. So we're currently working on the integration process of getting their PPC tool integrated with ours, with ads, and then which will take us at least through the beginning or early next quarter, or Q1. And then after that, we're going to start working on all these different integration features that we do have available, and that we do see helping PPC, and even helping in creation of PPC campaigns. Having the ability to do keyword research and then immediately create campaigns from them, having that all link. So lots of cool stuff coming up for integrations, including the keyword manager and keyword tracker. So keep an eye out for that next year. Robert asks, could you explain what the flywheel effect is? Does it have something to do with organic sales? Yes. So let me switch over to an account that has total sales in it so you can get an idea. So what the flywheel effect really kind of is, and what it describes is, imagine you're on a highway and you're on the same road. You go to work and you're on the same road, and you see a billboard for a product you've never heard of before, and maybe it's something that you don't need. But after a few times, after seeing it many times over a few weeks or months, you recognize it, and then all of a sudden you do maybe need that product. You might go online and maybe even Google, and you might search for that product because you've seen it so many times on that billboard on your way to wherever you're going. That's the flywheel effect. So it's the same with Amazon. It's the same with all advertising. The more you're seen by the shopper, the more you're in the consideration cycle. A lot of people are just searching or browsing sometimes before they buy. That used to be definitely the case on Google. Now it's also becoming the place on Amazon, where shoppers are going to just kind of browse and for this, it's called discovery. So if Amazon shoppers are now going to Amazon for discovery, you do want to make sure that you're visible, that you're in that consideration cycle while they're contemplating buying a product. That's called the consideration cycle. That's what PPC helps you do, because you can, if you do the job correctly, you can pay to be in certain positions on that page for particular keywords. So if you are effective at that and you have your product appearing for the right keywords that a user is putting in, they might not buy your product right away, because again, maybe they're just browsing, they're just doing research. But if they see it enough times, after a few days or a week or two, even, they might just go and directly put in your brand name, which again is one of the reasons why I suggest brand keyword campaigns. And then, or they might put in the same, keyword search results and see your product and click on it right away because they've already seen it so many times. So that's an example of the flywheel effect. And then how does that escalate? Well, obviously, if you're getting the sales, hopefully you're getting more reviews. That then improves the positioning or the quality of your listing. That improves the ranking for certain keywords that you might be selling for. Includes your indexing potentially for particular keywords that you might be selling for. So it has that flywheel effect of it potentially it can keep going. But PPC is helpful to make sure that you're always kind of spinning off that flywheel effect, that you're always in a new shopper's consideration cycle when they happen to come into Amazon and are searching or browsing for something. That is the effect of advertising in general. That's why TV, the commercials exist. You're watching a show, you see a TV commercial. They don't know if you go out and directly buy that product, right? No, there's no direct ties to that metric. So same here, there's no direct ties to that metric, but we do know, and Amazon, has acknowledged as well that they do see shoppers a lot more doing discovery and searching for products over up to 2 weeks actually before making a decision. So if you're visible at several points during that 2-week time period, you're going to improve your chances of getting that sale. The visibility I'm talking about obviously is easiest achieved in PPC if it's especially if it's a new product, and that is the very long explanation of the flywheel effect. So I hope that helps, Robert. Edward asks, for sponsored brand campaigns, all my new keyword suggestions are broad match. Is this normal? For sponsored brand campaigns, all my new keyword suggestions are broad match. Yes, that is. So I'm assuming, Edward, you're saying that you built the campaigns in ads. So as I went over before, any campaign built in ads will, and actually I take that back. So I'm going to cover two different things here. You don't have to build campaigns in ads to take advantage of what Edward's asking about. Just for everyone's knowledge, all of these campaigns here in this particular account were not created in ads. So if I want to put them in ads rule set, though, I do have that ability. That's what this configure column is. You can see the reset button here. That means that these particular campaigns have been put into a campaign flow. But let me find one that maybe hasn't been. Okay, so here's a sponsored brand campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and configure this for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm assigning rules to this particular sponsored brand campaign that similar to what Edward's asking about. So I'm going to choose it's the ad group. There really is no ad group for a sponsored brand. Sponsored brand just has keywords. So that's one major difference between sponsored brand and sponsored products. As I said earlier, you guys, sponsored products have ad groups. You have to assign an ad group for sponsored products. Sponsored brands don't. So that's why it's difficult for the two different campaigns types to talk to each other. So to send keywords from one to another, because the rules regarding how they operate are pretty different. So I'm going to set an ACoS target of a standard 30%. I'm going to do threshold clicks of, let's see, I'll be conservative and say 10 clicks. 10 clicks with no sales, make it a negative. And I'm going to say $20 search term, no sales. I'll make it a negative. For the new keyword rules, which is what Edward's asking about, I'm going to say a minimum of 2. I'm going to leave both of these automate buttons off because I actually want to see the suggestions before I start applying the suggestions or automating the suggestions. But as soon as I hit save changes, I'm basically telling ads, look for, and I don't know if the keywords in this one are broad match, but let's pretend that the keywords in this particular SBA are a broad match, so they are getting search terms. So if it does find at least 2 sales, one of those search terms has 2 sales under my 30% ACoS target, I want to make that a keyword that I'm targeting in that sponsored brand campaign. So that's pretty much what I'm setting right now. Now the match type will be broad match because, again, the way we view our sponsored brand, if you're using our rules, is really to look for additional search terms. So that search term that has now become a broad keyword may still get additional search terms to it that make sales. If you're worried about that, Edward, then just be a little bit more aggressive with your negative phrasing, because then you'll weed out maybe search terms that aren't doing well for you. But you could also, look at the keywords that are being suggested and also make them phrase if you want to isolate them a little bit more. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability right now to add them as both broad and phrase, for example, or both broad and exact. But if you're looking at your suggestions for your sponsored brand campaigns, and you do see, let's see, sponsored brands, if you are seeing keywords that, oh, wow, there's a lot in this account. So all of these keywords are new keyword suggestions for sponsored brand campaigns. They are all going to the same campaign. Actually, no, sorry, those are bids. So I don't have any new keyword suggestions for this one, but yeah, if you want to look through your suggestions when you're getting new keyword suggestions and then also make them a phrase, to maybe isolate them a little bit more. You could do that, or you could even create a sponsored brand, kind of maybe a proven campaign to then move those keywords into if you'd like to. We will be doing that particular example in our next campaign build out along with our Prestazone integration. One of the things we're doing is a campaign builder, a brand new campaign builder, and the sponsored brand in that campaign builder will have the ability to add two sponsored brand campaigns. So you could effectively have broad match keywords in one sponsored brand, and then you could move them as maybe a phrase or exact into another sponsored brand campaign automatically. But you can do that workaround right now if you wanted to manually. But it's still recommended to try to get additional search terms from keywords that have performed for you if you can. And that's why we do that right now. All right, Katie asks, hey Vince, hey Katie. I created different campaign flows based on keyword research volume, and I'm wondering what I should put as an auto and exact budget and a bid for the second and third flows for the same product. Okay. So you've created these campaigns or you're going to create these campaigns. Let me see maybe if I can do an example of this. So you did your keyword research and you found multiple keywords and you're trying to test them, and the best way to test them is to build campaigns based on their search volume. So those of you who may not know what this means, what Katie has done is, which is the right thing to do, you do your keyword research, you find a set of keywords that you want to target. I would say, honestly, no more than 50. But of those 50, you do have to look at the search volumes and group them so that your lower search volume keywords and your high search volume keywords are not in the same campaign. The whole point of testing keywords in PPC is to actually get impressions to the keywords to see if they convert. Well, if you mix your high search volume keywords with your low search volume keywords, your low search volume keywords won't get any budget because the budget's going to be eaten up by the high search volume keywords. So that's why you want to group your campaigns with keywords that are like similar search volume, right? We have a campaign structure module on this that I did PPC training like a few weeks, maybe even a month ago or months ago at this point. But that is definitely a recommended way to do it. Of course, that means you're creating multiple campaigns to test those keywords. But again, that's the holy grail of PPC, is getting the data. And once you have the data, then you can you can narrow things down. So as far as budgets go for these campaign structures, what I always suggest for your auto and exact budgets is if you have a set budget, whatever it is, hopefully it's at least $30 a day per campaign is what I suggest. But whatever your budget is, you always want to have the auto campaign to get the larger portion of it, because that way, again, that's your research campaign, right? So you want that to have a broader net. It already does have a broader net because Amazon's doing the searches for you. So at the beginning, I would say the bigger portion of your budget should go to your auto campaign. The middle portion of your budget, I'm not going to give you percentages. You can figure out what I'm saying. You have a total budget, put the largest portion in the auto campaign, put the middle portion in your research campaign, and put the lower portion in your proven campaign. Your proven campaign will probably end up spending less anyway, simply because your third campaign, that proven campaign, is exact match keywords. Exact match keywords have a much narrower bucket, a narrower funnel. They're only those keywords or the plurals of those keywords. So they do tend to spend less. The bids might be higher, but overall spend for them tends to be less. So, and by the time they are in their proven campaign anyway, that means they should actually have proven themselves and made sales. So you should be able to estimate how much money that might spend. But that's my recommendation for at least splitting up the budgets. And let's see if there's a second part. Wondering what I should put as an auto. Wait, no, go back. She had a third part. I don't know if I should put an auto in, but for second and third flows for the same product. Oh, no. Okay. I answered it. And bid, the default bid, It's probably what you're asking for there. I always just do a standard dollar, and then either check Seller Central to see if those bids are far off. Maybe increase your placement bidding, or just let ads, look at the data for you and then increase those bids down the line. The biggest, the most important part of this question, I think, is the allocation of the budget. Okay, so what was her next part? Okay, second question. I set up multiple campaign flows, right? October 11th. I've yet to get any negative search term recommendations. Does it seem normal? I finally just got a new keyword recommendation, though. Awesome, that's great. So the reason why you didn't have any negative keyword suggestions yet is because your threshold clicks were too high. So I would actually go through and find your campaigns. Every campaign that you've created or put in a campaign structure will have one of these little reset buttons next to it. So you always know when looking at ads which campaigns are in campaign structures and which ones are not. So I know based on that little icon there that this isn't a campaign structure. So you might want to just check your campaign structure that you created, Katie. And I have the threshold clicks here at 10. This is a high margin account or campaign, so I know I can afford to spend a little bit more on a search term with clicks and no sales. But if you want to see, if you're seeing a lot of search terms with only 1 or 2 clicks or 3 clicks, and cumulatively they're just spending a lot of your budget, then you might want to reduce this to 5 clicks, 4 clicks, 3 clicks. So it really depends on what your margin is for your product, how much you can spend on a search term before it's not viable, before it wouldn't, even if it made a sale, maybe it's at a 50% ACoS or 40% ACoS. So you need to figure out what your margin is and how much you can afford to spend per search term to not have a sale, to test it, and then adjust the clicks to that, and then you'll start seeing a lot more negative keyword suggestions. All right, Sam asks, a product is launched 3 weeks ago. ACoS is high at 85%. Broad campaign is bringing more sales, but also high spendings. What do you suggest to minimize the spendings on the broad? So I don't know if you've made this campaign in ads or not. If you did, your suggestions should be going through the search terms for those broad keywords and giving you maybe negative keyword suggestions, which should be located here. This account doesn't have any because we've activated all of them. If you're doing this manually, then what you really want to do is just look through your search term reports and for that in that broad campaign, and make sure that you're reading out the search terms that are spending money but not converting. So in ads, we can do it simply by clicking analytics on search terms. You do have the ability to look at search terms in Seller Central now too. If you click on your campaign, you'll see on the menu on the left-hand side, there is a search term section. So I would go there. It only goes back 65 days, but you said it's only 3 weeks ago, so that's fine. So I would go there and then just make sure that you are, I'll just show you. So let's see, Seller Central, login, pick one of my accounts. Nope, not Bradley. Okay, close. Campaign manager. So this is how you do it manually versus the 2 clicks I just did in Seller Central. So you want to look for a manual keyword campaign. Let's just pick one. Last 30 days, it has good margins. Manual, this one does. All right, so once you're in your campaign, click on the ad group, and then you will see in the left-hand side over here, search terms, right? So from here, you can even go last 65 days. Like I said, that's the max it goes. But for you, last 30 days is fine. And then you would sort by spend, and then you would be able to see all the search terms that happened in the last whatever period you put in here that have maybe made sales or not, or have spent with no sales. So let's see, scroll down. So this is the first keyword that I see here that has made no sales, right? It spent $24, so it was made a negative. But that is what you want to do, is make those, and you can do that now in Seller Central. For those of you that might not be aware, you can click on an action and it can make it negative, or actually you can do it from here too, add as negative. So the good thing, Hassan, is that you do have sales, which is awesome in that broad keyword campaign. You just want to make sure that you're going through the search terms and making those negative that are just spending with those sales. Or even there might be some that are spending but with really, really high ACoS. Like, for example, let's see, this one up here, 60%. That one I might keep because it's made 109 sales in the last 65 days. So that's a high ACoS, but it's kind of a loss leader. Maybe this one here that only 8 orders at 75% ACoS, that might be something that is worth cutting out because it spent $105. And that will lower your overall ACoS for this campaign. So either manually, granularly go through this, or if you're using ads, you could pretty much do the exact same thing just within a few clicks and check the search terms. Or if you wait enough time, which 3 weeks should be enough time, you should be getting those as negative keyword suggestions. If you're not getting those negative keyword suggestions, then do what I just showed Kelly to do. Go into the configuration settings, maybe lower your click threshold that you put there, and then you would get additional negative keyword suggestions. All right, Lou asks, newbie here, what metric should I pay attention to my PPC budget? You said based on break even. I just wonder for how many units break even should I set for my daily campaign? Or you mean each keyword should be based on each unit's break even? No, definitely not each keyword. So go back to his, yeah. So first, whenever we talk about launching new campaigns and PPC, what you have to understand is that you need to set budget aside to lose money before you make money, because you're going to. You're not going to make money on PPC out of the gate. 90% of people don't. So I always tell people don't expect to. Set a certain budget aside that you know you're going to lose. But with the mindset of you're not really losing that money because you're testing data, right? So when I say break even, it's pretty much how much can you spend without necessarily losing money on a sale. So how much a product costs, and then it dictates how much you can spend on that. That's the PPC for that campaign. So if your product costs $25, that's what you sell it for on Amazon. If you spend $25 on PPC to get that sale, that's 100% ACoS because you spent as much as you made. So it's pretty much break even. If you want to go further, you could actually then estimate, your FBA fees, your cost of goods if you wanted to, and add that to the cost or subtract that from that cost, and then weigh that against it. So the simplest way I always tell users to just do 100% ACoS for at least 2 weeks. And that way you know that your at least our tool is going to give you as many suggestions and as it's going to look as many search terms as possible for you. And it's going to give you lots of different suggestions for those. And then after those 2 weeks, you have the data. I would go longer if you could, maybe 3 to 4. Once you have significant data, then you can start whittling that down. Pausing or making negative search terms, and maybe pausing some keywords, maybe turning off some products that aren't performing well in a campaign with several products. Ads will do that for you over after that time. So you also have that option as well. But the thing that I want to just emphasize is that you just want to make sure that you don't run out of budget during the day. That's the mistake I see most people make, is that they only put a $10 budget, which I don't know why anyone would set a $10 budget. You're probably going to run out early in the morning. But they set too low of a budget. The campaign goes out of budget really early in the morning, and then you don't have any data for the daytime, which is the more important time of the day to get data. But when you're brand new, you want to see 24 hours worth of data because your product might sell pretty well late at night or early in the morning. You don't know until you have the data. So as far as budgets are concerned, you should also factor in how much will I need to spend every day in order to keep my campaign on. So when you initially launch and you start running at a budget, Amazon does give you suggestions for how much you should update your budget to in order to stay active for 24 hours. So, you could also leverage that too when you see it. Amazon will say, hey, change this to $60 to be on all day, right? So you want to do that, but again, keep in mind that you're doing that for the first 2 to 3 weeks so that you can just get the data that you need. After that, then you're going to be able to reduce that spend. So if that makes sense, though. Edward says, if you already answered this, please just refer me back to the replay, but my sponsored brand campaign is only suggesting new keywords as broad, not exact. We talked about this earlier. I answered that earlier in this recording, Edward. So either you asked it again before I answered it, or just watch the replay for this one once it's posted, and then you'll have your answer. Simon asks, okay, should I be using the same keywords for sponsor product and sponsor brand? Yeah, because they're completely different placements, right? So when you're searching on Amazon, and let's use my client. So when you're searching on Amazon, and if brand registered, so guys, you have to be brand registered in order to use sponsored brand, which is SB that he's mentioning. This is an SB ad unit. This is sponsored brands, right? So sponsored brands are always at the top. They show 3, I think they're even making this even 4 too now. So they'll show 3 to 4 different products from the same brand. That's why it's called a sponsored brand. You can see the sponsored thing here. This is a sponsored brand ad unit. These are sponsored product ad units, just the regular tiles that you see on a regular search. And this is what's available to everyone in sponsored products, or SP as he's mentioning. So yeah, you should be using the same keywords because you want to show up here for whatever keyword you're using, and you also want to show up here. So this means I do a good job. So not only is this for this account #1 for the sponsor brand position, they're also #1 for this position as well. And then organically, they're there, right? So yeah, you do want to use the same keywords because they're completely different placements. If you really want to be budget conscious and you actually really get good at being maybe top placement for this position, then maybe you don't have to spend so much money to be first on this position. But if you have the budget, why wouldn't you? You can see that this looks better that they're in both positions than if it was just this position and then maybe just this position down here. Again, this is all about branding. So I just typed in the word crutch, and this is what most people think of when they think of the word crutch, or they think of a crutch, right? Just the standard type crutch. Nobody thinks of this type of crutch, this peg leg, pirate leg type of crutch. But the more people see it, because they're typing in crutch or crutches even. Let's see if I'm #1 for this one too. So #2 position for sponsor for this one, but still #1. The more somebody is searching for crutches and the more they see this particular product, they might think, oh, you know what, that looks cool. I might want to try this version of a crutch versus this one. But none of that consideration cycle would happen if these paid positions were not right here. So yes, that is something you should do. Katie asks, so if I have 3 campaigns, high, medium, low search volumes, for one product, each auto should still have the highest allocation for all 3 campaign structures. That's correct. They're 2 different things. So one we're talking about the search volume of the keywords that are in the campaign, and the other is how much budget do I allocate to each. The auto campaign is still probably going to spend more because it's Amazon just doing research for you and throwing your product at different keywords and different product placements. The research campaign is going to do potentially less than that because it's just broad keywords and they're just matching search terms to it. And the exact campaign is going to be even less because it's just those exact keywords. So it should spend even less. So that's correct. I have 2 video creatives that I have been A/B testing. So I created 2 sponsored brand video ads, and both have the same keywords that I target. Should I not do that since the campaigns are now competing? Yeah, so the whole point of A/B testing is to figure out which one performs better, right? So hopefully you've been running these 2 sponsored brand video campaigns at the same time. Typically there's, let's see if the video is here on this one. Yeah, Amazon's been really weird lately about when they decide to show videos and when they don't. Because there is actually usually a video here in this placement for this keyword, for this product. So it means we're in multiple places. It might have to do with something with the size of the screen I'm looking at. I don't know. But yeah, so it's not here. Yeah. There's a sponsored brand product or regular one. But so yeah, the videos are definitely should be doing videos. Again, this is only available, you guys, if you are brand registered. Videos perform really, really well. They're on their mobile, they're on desktop. You definitely should do as he did here, A/B test. So just figure out which one performed better, and then turn off the one that performed less, and then bump up the keyword, the bids and the budget for the campaign that did better. But good job doing that. That's really awesome that you're testing them that way. That's the right way to do it. If you can afford it. If you can't afford to A/B test, guys, still try to do videos. Get sponsored brand, get brand registered. Try to do videos because you will definitely see higher click-through rates on those types of campaigns. So we've got about 8 minutes left, but it looks like we are out of questions. So anyone that is watching on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to add your comments now or your questions, and I'll happily go through those either in ads or Seller Central or in other areas of Helium 10 if I can. All right, does ads have functionality to negative target some keywords or products across multiple campaigns at once? Yes, we do. So it's all here in our analytics section. So you just click on analytics, click on search terms. Again, this is not something you have in Seller Central. This is a high level overview of this entire account. So what I'm looking at when I'm in analytics is all the data for either portfolio level. I'm looking at all the data at a campaign level. I'm looking at just the data from the ad group, keyword level, search term level, and so on. So search term level is where you could easily go to and see, we show ASIN targets, just the same as we show keywords because we consider them to be the same. They are the search term, even though it's an ASIN, it's still the search term that Amazon's using or you might be targeting directly in a product targeting campaign. So we do show those. You can see here in the negative column, you are actually able to make these a negative right away. So for example, this word crutches has a 66% ACoS. So if I want to make that a negative, I can just click on this. Ads will automatically go through and tell you all the places where this search term is used or found in the time frame that I gave, which I think was the last 30 days. So obviously, the longer the time frame, the more data you're gonna see from ads. The beauty of ads too, and I'll just mention, is that we do go back 2 years. So depending on when you're with us, how long you're with Helium 10, we'll go back 60 days when you launch in ads, or if you've already been a Helium 10 member for a while, we might have some keyword data for you already, but we will go back up to 2 years. So you can always check your previous year's performance on campaigns if they're the same to do comparisons. For this, I just went back 60 days. Looks like crutches is still the worst performing term, even though it's and again, to my point, so crutches does not perform well, right? As you can see here. Well, it's actually not bad in this one campaign. So I'll finish the question. So yes, you can look at click the search term, and ads will tell you all the places where it's found. And if I wanted to make it a negative in all 3 of these campaigns, I could. If I just wanted to make it a negative in the one that is performing the worst in 92% ACoS, you can see it's spent 2,900 and made 3,100. I could actually just make it a negative in that one right now. So yes, to answer your question. And another thing that I will note, and you guys might hear me talk about loss leaders a lot. this term crutches it's a loss leader. I know that it's never going to perform well. It doesn't convert well, right? But I also know that for branding, I always need to appear here in Amazon for that word, because this is actually what the product is. And even though most people don't end up buying it based on this particular word, it's still it's branding for this product in the consumer's mind that this is a crutch, a type of crutch, an alternative to crutch. And if we're not consistently here for this search term, then we're no longer in the consideration cycle, and then we no longer get the sales that we eventually get, for this account. And as you can see, even though that crutch specific campaigns do poorly, look at the overall ACoS, 16%, right? So it's not bad to have keywords in there that do not perform well, because it does help branding for your campaign or your product, and eventually helps, with a lower blended ACoS, as in this example. Federico asks, would you recommend to use ads if I'm going to just launch my product, or do I wait to get data? Well, if you haven't launched a campaign yet, you can't use ads yet. In order to use ads, you have to have at least one campaign built in Seller Central. So Federico, that's what I would do. I would suggest building your brand keyword campaign in here. So whatever your product's called, I would create a campaign, and put those keywords in it that are your brand. Once you do that, then Amazon recognizes that your account is active. Until you put a campaign in your Seller Central, Amazon doesn't consider your account to be active. So once it's active, then we get the data, and then you start seeing the data in ads through the API. That's the connection that we have with this Seller Central in order to show you the data here. So yeah, first off, you have to create a campaign in Seller Central to do that. But yeah, if you're diamond a level and up already, you do get access to ads, and I highly suggest you do use it to create your other campaigns. So not your first campaign, because you have to have, again, your first campaign in Seller Central, but I would definitely then use ads to build out your remaining sponsored product campaigns. Not only is it quicker because we build 3 campaigns at once for you, but then again, we do the job of looking through the search terms for you for those negative keywords and maybe new keywords, as I've been demonstrating the manual ways, to do all that, which you can do in ads as well. So I wouldn't wait on PPC. If you're platinum level and you want to wait on upgrading, for example, sure, do that. Get your feet wet with some campaigns in Seller Central so you kind of understand how it works. And then you'd also be able to actually really understand the benefits of using a tool like ads by comparison to what you have to do in Seller Central. Roger asks, Amazon Kindle Book Publishing and Amazon Physical Products have 2 different advertising platforms. That's correct. Is H10 going to be compatible with Amazon KDP now that our Prestazone? Good question. Yeah, so once the integration is done, then we will be. So right now we're not. So that is one benefit of buying Prestazone, is that they do have that built out already. So I would expect that to be included in our ads platform again sometime in Q1 of next year. All right, final question, guys. It's 11 o'clock. So Robert asks, are organic sales on page 1 mostly due to PPC sales over a long time? Again, because Amazon doesn't give us any stats on correlating how many times a user has seen a PPC campaign, for example, to when they might have purchased it just by clicking on an organic tile placement. There's no way to indefinitely say yes or no to this question. What we can say, again, is that your organic positioning on Amazon is due to the fact that that particular product has done well for that keyword over a certain amount of time, right? So Amazon is always going to try to show the products that they know are going to sell at the top of the list for any given keyword search phrase that a shopper enters. So if we do know that PPC helps you get sales on some terms, some of those keywords that you might be trying to target, then we also know that that helps you with your ranking for that same exact term, even organically, because Amazon always wants to make a sale. So if they know that you're doing well on this particular keyword, because they have history of you making a sale with a PPC campaign for that keyword for this product, chances are they're still actually going to rank you high organically. And that is kind of what I have definitely seen to be the case with this particular account, is that because I really haven't paid much attention to organic at all. And it's typically been pretty high for this one. It does fluctuate as players come in and out, but the fact that we're ranked number 1 for this placement for both the sponsored brand and sponsored product typically means that we're going to be in at least the top 10 organically. And again, this does shift and it goes up to number 1 or 2 or 3 quite often. So there's no way to say that it for sure it increases your organic ranking. But again, if you keep in mind that analogy I gave you of the billboard on the side of the road, and you're constantly driving past it, and then one day you might need that type, whatever product it is, that you never would have known about had you not seen that billboard. Again, it's the same here with Amazon. And so it definitely does help eventually users to know your brand and then go search for you organically right here in the Amazon platform. So thank you so much, guys, for another exciting episode of Tacos Tuesday. I will be back next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We're going to continue with some of our holiday tips that I did a few weeks back with Amazon advertising itself in a webinar. And hope you guys got a lot out of today's episode. And hopefully you will be taking some of these tips, like checking your inventory. That's why this was the first one. Make sure you're doing that in the next 24 hours, so that you can try to project how much inventory you will need when it starts to get busy in a few weeks. All right. Take care, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.